Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where I help you become the CEO of your life. I am your host, Keisha L. Blair, aka Keisha the Electrician. If this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new episodes, which is usually every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Now, Alpha Intuition family, I have a really great guest for you guys today. He is a mindset coach, a financial educator, and an author of the book Wings of Abundance, a guide through unlocking wealth, purpose, and inner alignment. He's also a marketing director that helps people to break free from scarcity thinking and step into financial freedom with clarity and confidence. Whether he's mentoring through his community programs or coaching clients on a path to wealth, he brings wisdom, energy, and real strategy to the table. Alpha Intuition family, it is my pleasure to welcome my friend, Mr. Kadeem McLean, to the show. What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing, Kadeem?
I appreciate that intro. Thank you very much. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing good. Man, it's been a busy day. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy month. We are at the end. We're at the end of what? Almost at the end of Q2. We're at the end of May. End of May. Yes. So, man, we're just gonna hop right into it. So you are the financial guru is what it looks like from this intro that I just read. You got these finances all sold up.
Something along those lines. Right? people call me different things. Something along those lines.
Okay, well, why don't you tell me about your background and journey and what like started your interest just with finances and then helping people to understand more about finances?
How much time you got?
Oh boy.
It's a long story, but I'll give you the shorter version. I grew up in a single parent household, right? My mother raised 6 of us. I had siblings outside of the home as well. And, seeing her struggle financially, go through challenges, lights cut off, hot water cut off, car being driven off the out of the parking lot at night when it wasn't a family member driving it, right? Repoed. Different situations like that. And eventually I started to, I came across Eric Thomas in college, my first year of college. And it was Secrets of Success, right? Of the Guru Story. The Guru Story, sorry. And I heard it and I was like, okay, this is powerful. It's amazing. It's the first time I heard something like this. And of course, from there, found all his other videos and so on. So I said, there's got to be a better way to do this than my mother's worked 2 or 3 jobs her whole life, raising the 6 of us. And, so finances has always been something that's kind of been in my mind because I've seen one side of it. And then I started to hear about another side of it in terms of passive income, residual income, and so on. So I studied IT in school. And at one of my jobs, I was sitting down. I was in charge of putting in a new internet connection, actually, in the office. So I was communicating with somebody from Rogers, first time meeting the person. They came out and we're looking for where to run the wires, right? Where to run the cabling. And we're sitting down waiting for floor plans. And he says to me, because I asked him a question about investments, right? He was a Jamaican guy. I'm Jamaican. And I don't know what it was, but for some reason, he was just a cool guy, right? Outside of him being Jamaican, he was a cool guy. So I asked him about investing. I don't remember what I said to this day, but he said, you know about the rule of 72? I said, no, what is that? He said, what about dollar cost averaging? I said, no, what is that? He said, you need to sit with me, man. I was like, all right, great. When and where? Right? Because I knew I was lacking information. There was something I was missing, a missing piece. And then he showed me everything in about an hour. He shared information with me and he helped me put plans in place that'll help me to retire my parents, my mother, if anything were to happen to me prematurely. And he helped me, shared information with me I could take throughout my life. And I said, wait a second, hold on. You just shared information with me. You helped me put plans in place to accomplish certain goals, even if something were to happen to me prematurely. How much did you just make off of this hour, if you don't mind me asking? Like I said, an hour. He told me about $1,200.
Oh boy.
And I was like, hold on, wait a second. $1,200 off of this hour where you helped me. And it's a win-win situation because I was getting about that amount on my paycheck at the time. Right. So I was like, okay, I need to see what it is you're doing and put myself in that position. And of course, by the grace of God, I'm let's say I'm ahead of that position now.
Nice.
Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, but you caught it. So what did you say he asked you about if you had heard of which 2 things? I didn't hear that second one.
The rule of 72 and dollar cost averaging.
Oh, dollar cost averaging. Yeah, I hadn't heard either one of those.
Yes. I can break it down for you.
Let me hear it. So the rule of 72. I'm intrigued. What is that about?
So the rule of 72 is something that was not created, but it was made popular by the great mathematician Albert Einstein.
Mm,
And it says if you take the number 72, you divide it by your rate of return, right? So you have an account and it's getting you, let's say, 1% return every year,
mm-hmm.
right? Out here in Canada, we have some banks, typically the 5 major banks, right? And I'm not going to tell you which bank, but I was with one of them at the time, and I
Mm-hmm.
had an account called the high interest tax-free savings account.
Mm,
And when he sat with me, he said, "Go look at how much you're getting." I looked at it, and I was getting 1% return.
mm.
I'm not going to tell you which bank it was, but it was the Green Bank. For anybody out in Canada, you know which one I'm talking about, right? And 1%. So what the rule 72 says is if I take 72, I divide it by that rate of return, which is 1. The
Mm.
remainder tells me how many years it would roughly take my money to double.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's a
for
long
anybody
time.
who's not so great with math, that's 72 years in that account for my
Yeah,
money to double, right?
that's a long time.
So, but let's say, Keisha, you were to find Miracle Bank. Miracle Bank is giving you 4% return.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not going to take you as long to double your money. But one thing I realized when he sat with me, he shared this information with me, is though they're giving you 4%, how much are they charging you on your credit card?
Is it like
19, 20%, right?
yes?
Sometimes more. How much are they charging you on your mortgage? How much are they charging you on a car loan or a personal loan or a line of credit? They
Mm,
can easily get 8%, 12%, whatever the case is. So they're taking that money where they're promising you 4%. Meanwhile, they're getting themselves a much higher return.
mm.
And the money's doubling every maybe 6 years for them if they're getting
Oh yeah,
12%,
they're getting their money back faster
right?
than what you're getting yours back.
Exactly. So it's not to say that the banks are bad or anything like that, but it's to say if you don't know how money works, somebody's going to make money using your money.
Mm.
And that's where the rule 72 comes in. Where can you go to get yourself that 8, 6, 12 plus percent?
Now, what'd you say the other one was? The dollar something
Dollar cost. Yeah, DCA for short, dollar cost averaging.
dollar cost average.
And so with that one, it's really a microcosm for life, is how I look at it, because every little bit adds up, right? Every little bit adds up over time. And what dollar cost averaging is, without showing you a chart, it's a little bit difficult to articulate so that people can understand it. But doesn't matter if the market's up, doesn't matter if the market's down, right? Look at, let's say, Amazon or a Walmart stock. That's going to go up and it's going to go down over time,
Mm.
right? The average trend, however, is it's going up. So if you're buying at the low points, you're buying at the high points, you're consistently buying, right?
Mm.
So periodically, every week, every paycheck, every month, you're essentially spreading your risk, minimizing your risk, and increasing your chance for growth. And that's what dollar cost averaging is all about. Instead of just taking all of your money at one point and dumping it into the market, because now when it comes down, you've lost money. You got to go up higher than it was before for you to gain that same amount back.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
in a nutshell, that's what dollar cost averaging is.
So, that can be a lot for somebody that really just doesn't understand math and doesn't really understand money. So,
Absolutely.
what do you think is one big mistake that people make when it comes to money?
One big mistake, and this might be a couple in the one answer that people often make when it comes to money, is getting overwhelmed and then not moving.
Mm.
They get overwhelmed with all the information because you listen to one person, they'll tell you this. You listen to this other dude, and he'll tell you the envelopes. And you listen to this other person, and they're telling you something completely different, right? Your cousin's telling you to go buy some type of cryptocurrency. Your other friends telling you Bitcoin, and it's difficult to know what to do.
Mama's telling you to put it under the mattress. Don't give it to nobody.
Lock it in a vault, put it under your mattress, right? Hide it somewhere where no one can find it, right? Exactly. And that's a whole other issue we'll talk about in a moment if I remember. But pick one thing, right? Pick one thing that you think is in alignment with who you are and where you're aiming to go. So there's a few pieces to this. You got to figure out where you're trying to go. What type of lifestyle do you want financially? Are you looking to retire at 65 or are you looking to retire at 40? Right?
Mm.
And even if it is 65, how much money do you need from 65 until, 100 or whichever age you expect to live to till, based off your family history? Because on average, you need about about 1.5 to $2 million.
Wow.
We don't typically have that. So again, pick a strategy, figure out where you want to go, reverse engineer to figure out your strategy to get there. Don't get inundated with all this new information and keep looking on Instagram and scrolling at all these different strategies. Great, there's a bunch of strategies, but which one are you using?
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you applying?
Mm.
So I would say analysis of paralysis kind of plays a role there.
Yeah. And then, when you think about money, just because you have money doesn't mean you have wealth. So,
Yes.
what are some of the limiting beliefs that people with money have about wealth?
I didn't come from money. So what am I supposed to do? This is the life I was given. These are the cards I was dealt. This is the hand that I have to play because I was dealt this hand.
The
But it's
one,
not a matter of, go ahead, sorry.
no, I didn't mean to cut you off. You go ahead.
It's not a matter of the hand that you were dealt. It's how you play that hand. Because instead of woe is me, I didn't come from wealth, so that's it. I'm here. How about I wasn't given wealth, but wealth will come from me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Reframe it. Because I just told you a little bit about my upbringing. I definitely didn't come from wealth. Not to shame my mother. She did absolutely the best she can, and she's an amazing mother to this day. However, she did the best she could with what she had and the knowledge she had.
Yeah.
Now it's up to me to take it to another level, because you've heard this before. Your parents' ceiling is your floor.
That's right.
So if you stay on the floor now, what does that do for you? What does that do for your family, right? It doesn't help anybody. You've got to take it to the next level. You've got to elevate. You've got to strategize and make a move. So in terms of that limiting belief, it's I'm not able to do it. It takes money to make money. And I don't have money, so how can I get there? When really doesn't necessarily take money to make money. What's the effort and actions you're putting in place? And if you don't have the money right now, what skills or gifts can you exchange to get that money?
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah. And the first one that came to mind when I thought about that question is when people say, money is the root of all evil.
I feel like you did that on purpose, because that's from my book. I got a chapter in there of my book literally about that, right? Money is the root of all evil. And Keisha, that's a whole other podcast, I feel, but money is the root of all evil. All right. I've heard this a lot growing up, but that's not the right quote.
Mm-hmm.
The love of money is the root of all evil. And really, the love of money above your faith is the root of all evil. If money is so evil, why do you need it to be able to build a well in a country, start an orphanage, take homeless children off the street, to feed the homeless? Why do you need money to be able to do that if money is so evil?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a lot of good. Money is really just an amplifier. It amplifies who you really are. The more you have, if you're a good person, the more good you can do. The more you have, if you're not that great of a person or your morals are questionable, the more damage you can do. So money is the root of all evil. So you think the Bible's telling you to be poor and to struggle? Because last I checked, my Bible says abundance is what you shall have.
Yes. Speaking of abundance, let's talk about, since you brought it up, Wings of Abundance. Your book. So tell us about this book, Wings of Abundance.
So Wings of Abundance, I actually have a copy right here, ironically. It's literally your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow.
I'm pulling too far, but I usually keep all my friends' books over here that I know. And bam, I do have my copy right here.
See, you said friend. I appreciate you saying friend, because you are a real friend, because you have the book. I have family members who won't buy the book.
No, I do. I have the book. I like the book. Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now that I wasn't listening, I was reaching. Tell me about that again, what you just said.
Yeah, no worries. So it's your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow, right? I was contemplating whether I should put it as more of a self-help book or a finance book, right? But it is a finance book and self-help. I kind of put it on the top here, both of them, because honestly, there's I didn't put enough, or rather, let me phrase it this way. There's so much I could have put in the book, but a lot of people wouldn't read it. There's a reason it's the size that it is. People struggle to read 100 plus pages.
Wow. Very
Right?
true.
So I kind of compacted it and gave them what they need right now so that they can actually take action on it and not get inundated with all that extra information I was talking about. Right? So it's literally your strategic guide. If you pay attention, you read the pages and you take action on what's in these pages, it can completely change your life from where you are to where you want to be. And a lot of the principles in the book I've used myself to get out of where I was. 20,000 plus in debt. Got out of it.
Nice.
And, a credit score of, what was it, about maybe 620 at one point, 650. And we are nowhere close to that number now. Let's just put it that way, right? I don't want to put all my business out there, but and again, I've used these principles not only for myself, but for a lot of my clients as well. And one principle I'll take from the book that I'll kind of mention here is just, you feel like you don't have money, but the reason you think you don't have money is because you're not utilizing your money, right? Money is really just a tool. And kind of going back to what you said about money being evil, depending on how you use that tool, it can be great or it can be evil, right? A knife can save lives or it can end lives, unfortunately. How do you use the tool? But it is a tool that you need to put to work for you. So again, when you don't have money, to go back to that, it's because you're not putting away $1 every time. You're not putting away 10% every time. I've had clients who've come to me months down the line, Kadeem, I really saved this much? Yeah. How do I have this much in my account? What happened? You're following the principle.
That's right.
So again, if you hear all this information and you don't take action, you don't pick up the book, you don't read it, you don't take action on something, what are you really doing? What are you getting all this information for?
Yes. So I know the book, and you also talk about a lot about mindset. So when you think about just mindset, how does the mindset shape the way people attract or block the financial opportunities that could come to them?
You said it perfectly, honestly. It literally does that. It literally attracts or blocks not only finances, but opportunities, generally speaking, in your life, right? And your mindset, Stephen Covey, right? The 7 Habits.
Yeah.
The lens in which you see the world determines everything. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So some people would argue what comes first, the chicken or the horse, or the cart or the horse, right?
The chicken
Chicken
or
or
the
the egg is
horse?
what I meant to say. Sometimes they say the cart or the horse, but the chicken or the egg, which one comes first, right?
Which fast food restaurant are you going to? No.
This is why I aim to mostly cook at home. So I've heard, again, the wagon or the horse or the chicken or the egg, right? Which one comes first? And I don't know which one is which in this situation. So let me take a step back, because the mindset is really what comes before everything. I know people in my life right now who, I don't know if they'll ever listen to this, and I'm not going to put their name out there, but the situation is they're just constantly letting life hand them things.
Yeah.
They're waiting for life to tell them where to go. They're kind of going with the wind. They're blowing in the wind and just letting it take them wherever it takes them, instead of determining where they want to go, what they want in life, where they want to be, the type of lifestyle they want to have. There's a difference in mindset there, right? And you think life is so hard or companies are terrible or whatever the case because of your mindset. But really, life is beautiful because you can decide what you want. You're just not deciding on anything. You can decide on what you want. You can go after it. And then you will start to notice and pay attention to the opportunities that were already there, but you were blocking them in your mind because you had blinders on because of your mindset.
Yeah. So you're blocking your own blessings, basically.
Exactly. Right. blocking your own blessings.
Interesting. Yeah, and sometimes we can cause our own downfall and don't even realize it.
Absolutely. Right. And more on the mindset piece, there's there's certain conversations I stray away from. And unfortunately, there's certain people that I limit my interactions with,
Mm-hmm.
family members included.
Draining people.
Exactly.
It's like
Some,
you're just tired from having a conversation. It's like, geez, I feel like it's a struggle just to even have a conversation with them. And then on top of that, it's like, man, sometimes you can't even get a word in edgewise. And then when you do, it's just like negative. You're just constantly just pushing back the negative force that they're throwing at you. I know exactly what you mean.
And you're unable to be around that for a long period of time and it not affect you. It's going to affect you eventually. So I'm going to limit my time with you. I love you, but I'm going to limit my time with you. Right. And a part of that comes back to what we've always heard, which is the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset, again, going back to that, the hand you were dealt in life, a fixed mindset says, I wasn't born with wealth, so this is where I have to stay. I cannot grow, I cannot learn. Whatever knowledge I have right now, that's the most knowledge I'll have. Whatever skills I have right now, I cannot go get another skill because this is where I am. But the growth mindset says, this is what I'm going after. This is what I want. I know I'm going to have to go through a lot of road bumps, right? Road blocks, potholes, even sometimes a wall. But I'm going to find my way around. I'm going to find my way through. I'm going to find my way over. And I'm going to keep going because I know I can grow. I know I can learn. And this is what I want. Though I never experienced anything like that, I've been exposed to it because I've seen others doing it and I know it's possible. That's what I want. I'm going there.
So I'm going to tell you this, something that I struggle with is like the interruption of limiting beliefs that sometimes enter my mind because I will be in a positive setting, get really excited about something, and then all of a sudden that doubt creeps in. So it's like it starts to interject the limits and the beliefs that I didn't even have at first, but now it's like, well, you can't do that. What makes you think that you can? All these different things. We start having that negative self-talk that comes about us, and then some people they never overcome that, and that will stop people from doing a lot of things. I was watching Master Chef one year. I don't even know what season it was, but there was one young lady who was on there. I don't remember her name, but she was so close to the top, and she was put in, I believe, maybe like the bottom were like the top 3 to where she was going to compete. And for some reason, she just talked herself out and she left the competition. What? And then she was one of the top 3 and she ended up leaving the competition. And then I think, they asked her about it. And it was just almost like she just started talking about where she was from and what she couldn't do. And we're just like, but you beat out so many people, so many rounds of people. You're in the top 3. And she just left the competition.
That's so sad to hear.
That was like self-sabotage.
That's exactly.
We do that to ourselves. We'll talk. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. It's like, I'll have things to where even when I tell myself I don't want to get on stage or I can't do these certain things, and I'll talk to myself about all the things that could possibly happen once I get up there. And then of course, being in all the communities that I'm in, I have so many supporters that just encourage me, which is really good. And it keeps pushing me to just keep going back. But every time, and I'm gonna tell you, the biggest thing was when I think I heard ET say that he gets nervous sometimes. I'm like, what? So even the greats get nervous.
Absolutely.
And they still have to prepare. They can't just walk up there, so it's a process. So that helps me out in my process to where I am on my journey.
Yeah, no, that's so huge. And honestly, like I said, it's sad to hear it because it's just a simple, not easy per se, but it's a simple mindset shift where she could have been number 1 and she could have started her own show.
Yep, exactly.
Right. And but again, where you come from, oftentimes we let that hold us back as an anchor. And honestly, drop that baggage. We don't need that baggage. Yes, remember where you come from, but where you're going is where the focus should be. Not the previous or where you came from or your history, because when you focus on that, now you don't feel worthy to, like you said with her, to achieve those goals you have, that lifestyle you're going after, impact those people you're aiming to impact.
Yeah. And I heard, I don't know whose quote this was, but they said our minds are wired to survive, not succeed. We have survival skills. We don't have success skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
right?
sometimes you never go. Once you get to that point, okay, I'm surviving right here. I'm good. I don't even want to step outside of this little box that I created for myself. I don't want to do anything else. That's
Yep.
how so many times we get sucked into a position where we're there for years and years and years. Just at the end of that 30-year stint, you get a watch.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for your 30 years of making me millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Get you a
You're
nice
lucky if you get a watch.
Seiko watch, not even a Breitling.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You're lucky if you get a watch. But to your point, there's always that inner critic, if you will.
Mhm.
Eventually, not eventually, but over time, I believe, because this is my experience and I've seen it in a lot of people as well, you get better with shutting that inner critic down
Mhm.
and letting your inner advocate overshine your inner critic. Because there's always a level of doubt or nerves or, you know, negative energy, if you will, because like you said, the way our brains are wired. But how quickly you shut that down and overcome it and how you reframe it in your mind makes all the difference, right? The
Mhm.
great Les Brown, when he would go up to speak, he told himself, or he said on some of his speeches, when the inner critic would come into his mind and start to stand up, and he'd say, "No, shut up, sit down, right? It's my time to shine," type of thing. So again, which version are you going to let win? Because there's two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf. Which one wins the fight? The one that you feed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mine is that anxiety. I tell, get back in the box. This is not your moment. This is mine. Put you
Yeah.
back in my legs, start shaking, the hands start shaking, get back in that box. And this is not your moment to be out here on stage, So it happens all the time. But it's that you have to just it's like you're fighting your own self. It's your inner self talk. Then you have to talk your inner self off the ledge sometimes, because like,
Right.
nope, we're not doing this. Oh, yes, we are.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the sad thing about that is a lot of people would let that, and again, even us, sometimes we let it creep in, but a lot of people will let that hold them back, specifically from the point or perspective of, again, going back to that growth mindset versus fixed mindset, right? But in reality, there's that comfort zone, which is where we want to stay. It's comfortable. I'm nice and cozy. I'm nice and warm. Feels like I got my Snuggie on, or you're comfortable. But that's not where growth happens. That's not where you reach for those goals or that lifestyle you're going after to impact those people. That is where you stay exactly where you are, or you regress. You go backwards. Of
Yeah.
course, there's that danger zone where you don't want to go. You're literally in the field or jungle or safari with lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
But then in between, there's that growth zone, right? You don't want to go to that danger zone. But in between, there's that growth zone. And the growth zone is where you want to be.
Yeah.
It feels uncomfortable. Your mind is going to start battling itself. But then you step out in power when you say, you know what? I know, like the inner Keisha, that's quiet down, get back in that box, because we're going on the stage and we're delivering an amazing presentation. And once you do that and you get off the stage, you've grown. You actually, once you make that decision and you step on the stage, you've already grown.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And like your signature message that you have, abundance starts in the mind.
Absolutely.
See, I've been
Absolutely.
doing my reading.
I appreciate it. Abundance starts in the mind. That is absolutely correct, right?
Yes.
Because again, people look at their dollars, and I've experienced so many people in my life, older people say they worked all their lives and they have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about, like let's say the past 10 years, if you were making $50,000 a year for the past 10 years, if you have not saved a dime, of course you have nothing, or even invested a dime, you have nothing. But if you save 10% every year, you now have $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's excluding growth, because if you're investing that, you got some good growth on there in the right places. If you're investing in the right places, you got some good growth. You have a decent amount of money right there. You can do something with that. You can take opportunities. You can start to invest in and start a business, or buy a rental property, or put it into Bitcoin, whichever strategy you're going with, right? But again, it all comes back to the mindset of, I don't have enough money I got to pay these bills. The great Warren Buffett, pay yourself first.
There you go. Yeah, I
And I'll
teach my
leave that where
children
it
that
is.
same thing. You got to pay yourself first.
Absolutely. Yep.
So before you take out anything else to anybody, pay yourself first, and then divvy up.
Otherwise, what are we working for, right?
That's right.
We're just working to pay bills. That's it. So we're living to work and not working to live.
Mm-hmm.
There's a distinction there.
Yep. Nobody. Oh goodness. I have to remind myself of that sometimes. Sometimes I do feel like I'm just living to work, and you work hard, play hard. So you have to have those moments to where you enjoy yourself, you enjoy your life, and the money that you make,
Yep.
you have to spend some of it on yourself.
Absolutely. Right. 5 to 10% is technically yours. Take it.
Mhm. So when you think about, money and leadership, leaders add value and solve problems. So money, of course, adds value and it can solve a lot of problems, right?
Yep.
So when it comes to money, what's one of some leadership lessons that you've learned about money?
Don't let money lead you. You lead money.
Mm,
Right. Because again, I know a few people who they would chase the money, but money is not necessarily meant to be chased. It's meant to be attracted, kind of what you were talking about earlier.
yes.
Right. And so if you're chasing the money, it's elusive. You're not catching it.
Mhm.
Right. Or you're going to compromise your own integrity to get it. And so those same people who are chasing money, just taking jobs for the money, they're out of a job. And this is not the first time in the last couple of years they've been out of a job, but because they're just chasing the money. And you end up living a miserable life. And because you're just living to work and then pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
No, I was gonna. So I was thinking something there. I was thinking about what you said about attracting. In order to attract, you have to be attractive.
Yes, absolutely. Now, how do we get there, Keisha? How do we become attractive to money, right?
Mm,
To wealth? Because to your point, it's not just money, it's wealth.
mm-hmm.
Because money is one thing, but wealth is what I'm going after and what I'm
Level.
attracting, right? And so how do you become attractive? There's many ways, and I would say just to kind of scratch the surface, some of those are who are you? What kind of person are you? What is
Mm,
your integrity like? How do you treat others?
that's right.
Right? Because we people always get stuck on the money piece. It's who are you as a person? What is your character like? How do do you smile at people? Do you hold the door open for them? Do you nod at people, say hello when you're passing them on the streets? Right? If someone's trying to talk to you, like, do you stray away because you think they're trying to ask you for something? Are you the first to pull out your dollar when you see somebody on the street?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you saying no, they already have somewhere to live and they're just out here trying to get money off of people? Listen, that's not up to like who that's not for you to care about. Not necessarily care about, but that's not up for you to
Determined. Yeah. And
determine or understand.
yeah,
Do
true.
your part. Do your part. If you feel God is telling you, give that person money, but you're not because you think they already have a house and they already have a phone, even though they're on the corner, panhandling, if that's the right word or phrase. Get that out of your mind. Give. That's what God's telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, give your 10%, right? Your 10% tithe, the whole 9 yards. I'm not going to go too far into this, but tithe, give your 10%,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's to charity, whether it's to churches, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm talking about the Bible here. 10% tithing.
Mm-hmm.
Give, and it shall be given unto you.
That's
And I'm
right.
not saying give for the sake of receiving. There's a distinction. But if you are the first to give, guess what's going to come back to you? More. Your cup's going to runneth over.
Yeah.
So again, if you're not doing these things and your mind is not in alignment with this, yeah, you're not going to attract money. It's not coming to you like that. You're not going to attract wealth because what are you going to do with it when you get it? You wouldn't know what to do with $100,000 right now if it hit your bank account.
Yeah. Then it also says be a cheerful giver. When you
Absolutely.
give, don't worry about, like you said, what they're going to do with it once you give it. You give it and you release it and you open yourself up to receive more. I'm going to even talk about my closet. I just cleaned out so many clothes from my closet. I've lost over 84 pounds now. Thank you. So I had all these clothes in my closet to where I just pulled them out. They've been in there for like over a year. And I had clothes that I bought. They're like laying on the bed. Some of them are on the floor, some of them in the dresser. It's like, oh, I was in so much clutter because I was holding on to all these things that no longer served me. That I knew some of them still had tags on them, brand new stuff. So I took them and put them all in the biggest suitcase I could find. And I gave them away to someone. And even the person was just like, okay, well, some of it I can't fit. I'm like, you know what? Then we're just going to just figure out, either we do a consignment or whatever. We'll give them away to somebody else. We'll figure it out. But I'm like, I ain't taking them back to my house. Because after I did that, I was able to clean up my room completely, get all the clothes off the floor, hang them all up. Closet looks really nice, but I opened myself up to even just to be in an organized space where I'm able to receive more, because first I couldn't see anything because I had so much clutter because I was holding on to things that no longer served me.
Microcosm for life right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud you for that right there as well, because cheerful giver is where you were going with what you were saying there. Yes, cheerful giving.
I was
right?
cheerful and happy to give all that stuff. I don't want it back. No, keep it. I was and most people, because it still had the tags on it. I'm like, oh, I could go sell it. No, I didn't even want to sell it. I'm like, look, I just want to get rid of it, because it was probably about $2,000 worth of clothes. If I, some of it, like I said, it was brand new, still had the tags on it after I started losing weight, never even got a chance to wear it. But it was just so much. And I was really happy to get rid of it. I was excited. I was wasn't even really planning on hanging everything else up, but I decided to just go ahead and just clean up just because I have more space now. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. I'm like, what else can I get rid of?
Right.
So,
yeah. There you go.
That moment.
Yeah. And it's a microcosm for life, because you mentioned getting rid of the things that no longer serve you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of brings most of this conversation full circle, because we were talking earlier about being stuck in the past versus where you want to go. What are you holding on to those clothes for, right? You let them go. So I'm just speaking metaphorically for anybody speaking. What are we holding on to those clothes for? We're not going back to that. We're going forward. So let's release that. Let's let it go, and let's move forward, because it's baggage that's holding us back. We cannot go as fast as we could if we let it go.
Mm-hmm. Very true. It makes me think about all the planes that I've been on, to where they'll start offering money to people just to get off the plane, because it's too much weight on the plane, and the plane won't be able to take off and go where it's supposed to go, or because they have to get rid of so much luggage. So if it takes you and your luggage off the plane, and we're even willing to offer you money because we got somewhere that we need to be, So yeah, I've been in situations. The most I've had an airline offer was $5,000. I was in the first class seat. I was about ready to give mine up. I'm like, oh, that was a good one.
Right.
There weren't people where they weren't having any connections, but I'm like, I'll stay the night here. That's an extra $5,000. So that was a rarity that happens. But just think about the delay, or what it would have cost them had they just held on, waiting and waiting. And they just said, no, we're going to make this to where it's enticing to people, so we can go ahead and get people off this plane, so we can go ahead and move forward and get to where we need to be.
Yep. And that kind of, forgive me if I'm taking this conversation a little left field, but in a way that just made me think of, because I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, made me think of your why. Because your why needs to be enticing enough and emotional enough or attractive enough for you to take those steps and make those moves, right? For you to forget about the hardship, let's say, or difficulty of having to deal with a new flight because you're getting off the plane, because your why was that $5,000, and that was enticing. It was valuable. It was more valuable, right? It was worth it. So forget about the hardship of having to get off the plane, come back tomorrow, book a new flight. That was worth it. Your vision, your why, needs to be strong enough for, yes, your life, because we're talking about finances, also for your finances. Because if it's not, as soon as a road bump comes, you're going to give up. You're going to go back. You're going to stop. But if it's strong enough, you're going to go over, you're going to go around, you're going to go through.
So just as you mentioned that, thinking about the why, took me back to that moment. And I thought, why didn't I get up and take that $5,000, even if I had a first class seat? Because I was actually going back home at the time. I was in California I was in Ontario going back to Memphis, and I was going to see my children. So for me, that was more important than me trying to get the $5,000, me getting back. So my why was greater than the $5,000.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, I could I could have took them on a trip with that, but I was joking.
Yeah. Right.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
but they had several people that I was like, whoa. It was like, usually they'll start small. No, they came out the gate. 5K.
Hmm.
Anybody want to go? Man, it was
We had
people
no
hopping up
time to
off on
waste.
that plane. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we got enough people. Sorry.
They had no time to waste. They said, all right, straight to 5. Who wants it?
Exactly. We got
Yeah.
somewhere to be. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Um,
Yeah.
so now I want to ask you about just any upcoming projects or events that you may have.
Yes. So I haven't talked too much about it yet. So this is really the first place where I'm mentioning it. It's the Apex system.
Mm.
And if you are an entrepreneur, an early entrepreneur just starting out, or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and you still got a 9 to 5, this right here, you want to tap into this, because oftentimes, and I can speak from personal experience as well, and I'm sure Keisha, you can attest to this, we want to do everything. Not
Mm-hmm.
whether or not, it's not whether we want to or not, but we end up doing everything because you're a solopreneur, you're on your own. And you're still working a 9 to 5, but you got to take care of all these business tasks. So you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, and you're underpaid.
Mm.
How do we overcome that? That's where this Apex system comes in. We're going to help you to automate. We're going to help you to prioritize the tasks that are actually going to generate the revenue you're looking to generate. We're going to help you to elevate your mindset, understand perfectly on brand that you are the CEO of your life.
Hey, I like that phrase.
And we are going to help you to excel in terms of getting to that lifestyle you want to get to. It's not necessarily a matter of leaving your 9 to 5 for those of you who don't want to. Those of you who do, we can make that happen. But that's what this is about. And so I'm starting a campaign, this month. But the main thing is I'll send you a link, Keisha, to drop in the description, that go ahead and put your name in there, your email, and I'll send out the information to you as it becomes available, because very early July, we're going to be having a webinar about it.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, that's good. So tell me what Apex stands for again.
So the Apex system is automate, prioritize, elevate, and excel.
I like it. The
Yeah.
Apex system. That's good. That's good. All right. So I know you've written a book, you've mentored, you got your coaching business. So what is next for you, Mr. Kadeem?
What is next for me is to continue to elevate myself in the Apex system. New things that are coming up, continue to automate those things that are new, to prioritize, of course, the tasks that are important, and continue to excel. The elevation happens across the field because that's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But continue to excel and move myself further up the ladder so I can impact and help more people, because obscurity is the biggest issue that we have in business.
Mm.
People not knowing who you are, people not knowing what you do.
Yeah.
Once you talk to enough people, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to like what you have to offer, but enough of them will.
You
So
got to
getting myself further out of obscurity by continue to elevate this system and continue to elevate this campaign to the point where we're doing group events, right? I will be working on the expanded edition as
Mm.
well, right? The expanded edition. Um, and there's more to come. There's more to come. I'll put it that way, but that's what I'll say for now. And again, for anybody who's interested in following along, put your name in email in that link below.
All right. So how do they find that book, Wings of Abundance?
They can find this book on Amazon. Wings of Abundance on Amazon.
Okay, I like it. I like it. All right. And it is a great book if you guys are in financial ruin. This is a way to dig yourself out of it. Go get Wings of Abundance.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We gotta soar through life. We can't continue crawling and struggling. Let's let our wings unfurl and let's soar through life.
I like it. I like it. So let me ask you this: where did you get that name from, Wings of Abundance?
It was a name that I was kind of figuring out which names I wanted to go with, right? There was a few of them that came to mind, but then Wings of Abundance came to mind, and I was like, yes, that is the one. Because again, oftentimes we're crawling, some of us literally rolling through dirt when it comes to the financial side or piece or in our lives, right? And not to shame anybody, but again, speaking from personal experience, I was rolling through life and crawling through life at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I understood the mindset, because once I had the mindset, then I can realize that, hey, I got some wings on me here. Let me figure out how to use these things, right? Get the strategies, get the knowledge, the information, and literally let them unfurl so that I can start to fly through life. And it's easier because there's not as much friction, right? There's not as much energy having to go into walking or crawling or running, because now I can literally soar through life. My finances can soar, my lifestyle can soar, my impact can soar, the people I can help can soar. So
Mm.
that's, in a nutshell, the way I came across the name Wings of Abundance,
Mm.
because
So
we all
now,
have them.
yes, very true. We do.
Yeah.
So I know we haven't even touched on it yet, but just to let Alpha Intuition, all the people that don't know, we are both extreme execution coaches. And we've met through Dr. Eric Thomas's program, Extreme Execution. And we help people to discover who they are through the flight assessment. So how do you utilize the flight assessment in your coaching practices?
Honestly, the tool, we could talk for hours, you and I, about about the tool itself. How I utilize it though is just in terms of, people receive information differently. You and I receive, even you and I, both being who we are in terms of being an air traffic controller, we still receive information slightly differently, right? And so once you understand how somebody receives information, how they like to be communicated to, now I can know what drives you. And as a coach, as a consultant, as a mentor, I need to know that, because now I know you really want this thing. I know which quote unquote strings to pull, how to communicate to you to get you energized, motivated, and moving.
Mm.
Otherwise, I could say things that I like, but if you're on the other end of the spectrum, it's not going to do anything for you. So I utilize a tool to be able to communicate with those who are in my cohort, right? Those who I communicate with and I coach, to know how to communicate with them effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Because communicating is one thing. Rather, I'll put it this way. I feel like we have a misunderstanding of what communication really is. People think communication is them talking. That is not communication, right? It's a two-way street, and it's speaking so that the other person can understand, right? And then, of course, you attempting to understand what they're saying. And it goes way deeper than that. But that is, on the surface, what it is. Not just you talking, but two people talking and you speaking in a way that they understand. Because if you're trying to say something and it's falling on deaf ears, let's say, right, quote unquote, it's often because you're not communicating to them the way they want to or needs to be communicated to. While we're all wired differently. Once you understand how they're wired, then you can communicate effectively with them.
Yeah, I like it. And I know sometimes you can talk to some people, and before you know it, they're sitting there talking for like 10 minutes. I'm thinking to myself, this is not a conversation. This is a lecture.
Exactly.
This is not a conversation.
And you
So,
don't want to be rude, so
yeah, and I'm slowly learning, or I have learned, that being in the entrepreneur space, communication is totally different than when it is when you're in a corporate space.
yeah.
Um, with the way you connect with people, the way you need to understand people. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you need people. You,
Mm-hmm.
depending on your position in corporate, you kind of need them, yes and no, but you definitely need them in the entrepreneur space. Your business is not going to thrive if you don't know how to connect with people.
Nope, not at all. But a big piece in business, as you know, Miss
Hmm.
Networker, is is networking, right? You got to network. You got to connect with people. You got to, let's say, touch people on the shoulder, get to know them, right? So without that, again, obscurity. You're not, you're in obscurity. No one knows what you do. No one knows how you do it. No one knows who you are. And much less getting to know everybody, not everybody, but getting to know people, you can maybe collaborate. Maybe they can help you, you can help them. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree.
And then also, people meet you before they even people get to know you before they actually meet you in person because they see you online. So people don't even think about what you put out there online actually can make or break your reputation People may not even get a chance to know you, but because of what's out there, they've already framed certain things about who you are, depending on what you've allowed to yourself to do and get put out there on the internet.
Right.
So you have definitely got to be protective of your image. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Even jobs, right? You apply for a job, they're oftentimes going to search you on social media. Yeah.
That's I'm still that still shocks me sometimes when I hear people say that, oh, I did this on social media and they didn't offer me the job, and I'm thinking like, wow. So I don't know. I started thinking about that years ago. I guess because I'm an IT major. So, just looking at, I think that was one of our activities when I was in school. One of our activities was that we had to go and research ourselves. So that was an eye-opening, enlightening exercise to where from that moment, and this was probably back in 20, maybe 14, where the internet really wasn't even as huge as it is now. But since then, I thought about, you got to be careful what you put out there. It wasn't anything, I found just different pictures of me or did things like that when I researched my name. It's like, oh, interesting. So just to see that and think about, okay, I need to start protecting this image now, to where a lot of people don't think about it. And then years later, you grow up and you got all this stuff that's online that you did. And now, you're losing jobs because of a party you went to and did something you shouldn't have done.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. And so, yeah, your public image is definitely important, especially as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right. Generally speaking, for sure, but especially as an entrepreneur. So sometimes people will have a separate page, their business page and the personal page. Even that, if they find out that that's what you're doing and they find your personal page and there's some questionable things on there, you might lose that business or you might lose that contract. So
yeah, that's not good at all. Yep. You definitely got to, and I don't look, this is a whole nother topic, but I don't even know the difference between a page and a profile. I'm like, I just got one. Figure it out. Look, that's making me feel old.
It's just too much. It's just too much, right? It's just too much to deal with. The page and the profile or the account is what are we talking about? Don't, like, you can see me, right?
Exactly. And I'm thinking like, why do I have to post on 6 different platforms? They're all on the same ones, which they're really not. But I mean, it's like some people, you got the same people. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Blame it on Gen X, which is my generation 4. We're the ones that started this mess. You guys just finished it. And now you got what is it, Z? They're just taking it and flipping it. And Alpha's rubbing it upside down. So
we'll see what we have in another 5 years.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to imagine. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Kadeem, I got one more question for you. So this is a question I asked all of my guests on the show. The title of the show is Alpha Intuition. So when you hear that phrase, Alpha Intuition, what does it mean to you?
It's a great question. I appreciate the question because I'm at a time in my life right now where I am, and it's been a theme throughout my life, and there's been growth at different stages. I'm at another growth spot in my life when it comes to intuition. So as we are at ATC, for anybody who doesn't know, we are very much in our minds, right? We get a thought, we think about the thought that we had, and then we think about that thought as well, right? So it's we think about the thoughts that we're thinking about. Let's put it that way. And so alpha intuition to me is me as a person. I'm aiming to, I get these thoughts, and we all get these thoughts. You're talking to someone and you kind of think, some questionable things to say, I don't know if I should really talk to them or whatever the case might be. Or, I don't know if really tell them the truth. And then you continue to talk to them and you continue to talk to them. And then it's revealed that your initial thought was true. Your intuition was correct. Follow your intuition. And so when I hear alpha intuition, I thank God. I think that intuition is connected to God. Right? That is your alpha intuition, that first instinct.
Yeah.
And so when you follow that, you can do no wrong, right? Not that you cannot do wrong. Like, I want to clarify that, but you are going on the right path, right? Within moral, values and the whole 9 yards. With that alpha intuition, you have that thought, you have that feeling, trust it. When you're making a decision and you automatically think this, A, don't go to B, go to A. There's no more reason to think about it. Just pick A and go with it. So alpha intuition is that intuition, that divine intuition that God has placed within us, and it's what He's telling us to do.
I
Our
love it.
human brains get in the way of that,
Yes.
but that is how I would define it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. All right. Now, I want you to let everybody know who's listening that may not be watching where they can find you and where they can follow you and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, definitely. So I am on LinkedIn, not so active there, but I will become active there soon enough. I am on Facebook and Instagram mainly, as well as YouTube, Success Spectrum Podcast. And you can find me on those platforms, of course, Kadeem McLean on most of them. I believe my Facebook is Kadeem.McLean27, if anybody is looking for that one.
And would you say the name of your podcast was again?
The Success Spectrum Podcast.
The Success Spectrum Podcast. And that's on YouTube?
That is on YouTube, yep.
All right, the Success Spectrum Podcast. I love it. All right, so I didn't even know about that one. That's terrible. Now I got to go subscribe.
Well, I appreciate that.
Make sure I start watching some of those episodes. All right, well, Kadeem, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on today. This has been a total pleasure. And I know we talk often, but just to have these candid conversations, they're always really good. So I really appreciate that. Now, you guys, if you are looking to up your financial game, you need to go and get this book, Wings of Abundance. I'm telling you, it is going to change your life. So make sure you go on Amazon and purchase that copy today. And then there you go. And then reach out to Kadeem. If you have any questions or comments, you guys just put those comments and questions in the chat or in the comments, and I'll make sure that we go back and try to answer your questions for you. So if you guys found this to be helpful, please make sure that you leave me a review. I love to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions on any of the topics that we talked about, or you want to hear something else, just let me know, and I'll try to make sure that I bring guests on here to talk about some of the things that are interesting to you. And once again, if you like today's show, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop episodes, which is usually every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And then you can connect with us on social media. You guys know who I am, Keisha, the electrician, on Instagram, and of course on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. I use my government name, Keisha L. Blair. Don't forget about the L, very important. Now, you guys, there's always two things I like to tell you guys. Don't stop, keep climbing, and keep that energy. So until next time, peace.